like me, you've probably found yourself at some point in your life staring at a streaming service, scrolling and scrolling, and just feeling a sense of longing for all the things you're never gonna have time to enjoy. And I can't really help with that, but what I can say, what makes me feel better is finding those gems. Once in a while, you'll find a gem like this, something that you haven't heard anybody else talk about before, and the aesthetic is just likable, the trailer is just charming enough that you try it out of randomness. But even rarer than that is when we find one of these shows and it just so happens to be interesting enough that we keep on watching it until the end. And even rarer than that is a show that soars above the others and becomes an instant favorite. My name is Soul, this is Fandom Pop, and today I am here to talk to you about one of my new favorites, Kipo and the Age of Wonderbeasts.
Up on top on my own, a human girl so far from home.
Alrighty, okay, well then, that was a pretty hyped intro for a children's show. And don't get me wrong, I fucking loved this show. But before we begin, we gotta backtrack a little bit. Let's start from the beginning. Kipo and the Age of the Wonderbeasts is a show about a girl named Kipo, and she lives in an underground society. She lives in what's called a burrow, a society tucked into a underground cave-like system, and they have no idea what's above them happening on the surface level. Whatever post-apocalyptic event happened like 200 years ago, we don't really know that much about it. And Kipo, in a series of unfortunate events, finds herself on the surface. And let me tell you, the surface is weird, y'all. All forms of human society are gonzo. That is right, after 200 years, all forms of animal life seem to have evolved into some kind of weird territory system between animals that can talk and they can eat you, and then there's like weird mutated animals that can also eat you, and then there are these big giant mega creatures that they can also eat you. Just to give you an example, within the first couple minutes of the show, Kipo encounters a pig with like 6 eyes, and she instantly is like, "You're gonna be my new pet. I'm gonna name you MANDU." But there are still a couple of humans still sticking around. For example, we have our supporting character, Wolf.
I'll help you get home, but we need to keep moving if we don't want to die.
And she mostly is befriending and helping Kipo out of like pity. She is like this expert class hunter survivalist, and she stumbles upon Kipo, who has never seen the outside world and is literally just walking in to harm's way, and she's just like, oh honey. Wolf is more of a I'm going to kill you and ask questions later kind of girl. And yeah, she's a 10-year-old. She's a small child, but she is also wearing the carcass of a dead wolf on her body, and she's like carrying a giant scorpion staff thing. I don't know about you, but if I happen across a small child wearing a dead wolf skin and was carrying a large scorpion staff spider thing, I too would be wary. Oh, and then after that, we got our boys, Benson and Dave.
How about some tunes? When you live up here long enough, you learn a few things. Benson, Benson, Ben. Me and Dave go way back.
I instantly love these guys the moment they were on screen. If there's that small part of your brain that lights up thinking about the apocalypse and thinks about all the crazy shit you would do and all the fun you would get into via the world being destroyed, that's essentially what these two are in a nutshell. They are just Hakuna Matata and good times all around. They just want to listen to music and be on the road together because it's such good. Oh, did I mention Dave is a giant bug? Technically, he's a mute, which is just short for mutant in this world. Pretty much all mutant animals are mutes, but he's still a bug. He within usually the frame of one singular episode, goes through his entire life cycle. When we first meet him, he's a little baby, and then soon after that, he's a teenager, and then he's a big, strong adult, and then he becomes an old man. And this usually, within every single episode, will go through this cycle, and the joke does not get old. But once we have our cast, Kipo and the gang try to find her homeland, try to find her dad specifically, and return home, and there's tension like, oh, will we all get to join the burrow? Do they let weird bug creatures in? What's wrong with Kipo's eyes? What are all these other things happening? There's a lot of quests and adventures ahead. If I had to compare the tone and pacing of this show, the closest I could think of is like Avatar: The Last Airbender. There is a lot of emphasis on adventure and questing and having fun and doing all these wacky, crazy things, but the show still always pauses to get like introspective or to have big character moments. They're always trying to get to the next objective, but they're often sidelined with much more interesting activities that will always keep the plot fresh, and you know, there are MacGuffins and other things to extend the adventure. The pacing of this show is excellent. It is very reminiscent of an anime because it's 12 episodes long. I think that was probably like an inspiration in some form of another, but the pacing, again, very similar to Avatar: The Last Airbender. I wouldn't cut a thing, despite a lot of the time what they're doing isn't necessarily important, and there are episodes that feel like filler. They still feel important. They reveal things about the characters and go places that are integral to the story. Oh, and let's talk about the animation. Dreamworks are the boys behind this one, and if you're not familiar already, Dreamworks has a big TV show deal with Netflix. They're basically pumping out a lot of TV shows for them right now, and they are getting pretty damn good budgets. It's not, you know, big Dreamworks film quality, but it's still Dreamworks. They know what they're doing. These shows definitely look better than a Netflix TV show animation. Trust me, there's a lot of bad shit on Netflix that is animated that it could have been. I did not know this while I was watching it, but Kipo is actually based off of a webcomic, and it feels like I'm watching webtoons on Netflix. It's crazy, and I love the character designs. I love Kipo's design. I love Benson, Dave. The world itself is so colorful and vibrant, and it pops. Everything about this world I am in love with. There's a lot of emphasis on world building, and usually it does that by introducing you to a group of species, and they have their own little clique, their own little society that's kind of a parody on how we used to be back in our world, and it's a lot of fun. It's really wacky. I think that might be my least favorite part about the show is it has a little too many talking animals, and it is really cringy sometimes, and it's a little, oh my god, I'm watching a children's show. That's right. But it all comes together beautifully. This is one of the most fun worlds I've seen in a while. This is a scene of a giant corgi. This is a giant pug that just wants to be loved, and what more? What more do I have to do to get you to watch this show after showing you that? There's not a larger point to this video other than I want you guys to watch this show. This is one of the best things I've seen on Netflix in quite some time, and I think personally it checked a lot of the boxes for me. It did a lot of beats that I like. This is tonally my favorite kind of story, and everything about it I loved. I don't have much else to say other than go and watch this show right now. But anyway, that's all from me. Again, thank you so much for watching as always. Until next time, my name is Soul. It's been real, and with that, I leave you.
Young, yeah!